And welcome to the BAC Podcast, the Bible, Apostolics, and Current Events. Brian Sexton, Pastor Aaron Fairburn, as always. I can't think of anybody else I'd want to do this podcast with. I say Pastor Aaron Fairburn, and it's like, okay, well, who else would be here next to me? How you doing, Pastor?
I'm doing great. I come out to do some work yesterday. It started raining again today. It was all cloudy, but I still feel good. I've been wanting to get my grass cut. It's looking terrible, but I feel good.
We have here in the tri-state area, we have an August cold front. My wife said something to me this morning. She said, we have a cold front running through here. Yeah, the temperature is about 15 degrees cooler today. That we've been running in the mid 90s. And today it's only going to be about 80 degrees outside. So Thank you, Jesus. August has come in with a cool general breeze.
I don't mind the coolness, but this rain is stopping me from weed killer because I got a whole bunch of
yeah, I do too.
Japanese knotweed that I got to kill at the church here.
Well, so. and I've got some of that same. Mine's like the low to the ground that grow in the gravel and stuff like that,
like crabgrass.
Yeah, crabgrass and then
plantain.
Yeah,
wide leaf.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've got to get some weed. You know, we're not going to do a podcast on types of weed killer for Appalachian grass issues. No, we're not going to do. If you tuned in today thinking, man, I'm excited about them boys talking about weed killer. Sorry to bust your bubble, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah, we're not talking about wheat and tares today.
Okay, well, we're not going to talk about the wheat and the tares today. All right, well, we are going to make sure our shirts are tucked in and we look nice and everything like that. You know, it's funny because you and I we don't come in with a plan as to what we're going to talk about. People are like, well, let's talk about this, or let's talk. When I did my own podcast, I would have people reach out to me, and they would reach out to me. They want to promote something or things like that, and I would say, you really didn't. First of all, before I'm going to have you on the podcast, you need to watch a couple episodes, because I intentionally tried to do different things. I tried to be. My goal was to be very conversational. And I said, if you're coming in with a planned topic, it's not going to work, because, you know, I think, and I've said this before, Pastor, people want to be a part of conversations. They don't want to witness an interrogation. And so, because, you know, again, you witness an interrogation, it's uncomfortable. You want to be a part of a conversation. And so we were talking about things we wanted to talk about today. But let's catch everybody up real quick before we get into our topic. Let's catch everybody up, because I like to catch everybody up on what's been happening at Bible Apostolic Church. So last week, our church, our young people went to North American Youth Congress in Indianapolis, Indiana, and you were there with them. Our youth pastor, Brother Sean Cabell, was with them. Our assistant pastor, Brother David High, and Sister Danielle High, Sister Bridget Cabell went. A few other adults went. Talk about, first of all, what made you want to go? And second of all, what were your big takeaways from the Youth Congress?
Well, the main reason I wanted to go is just support the kids. In reality, you know, I'm 52, and
you are more than a conqueror.
more than a conqueror.
Because conqueror's age is 36 now, isn't it?
I think so.
What they used to call conquerors, yeah.
Yeah. But you know, usually those type of events don't have the appeal that they used to have for me. But it is, like, you know, it is great, great word. It is great atmosphere. And a lot of people, I mean, I think it's the largest youth event, Christian youth event in the world. And it's phenomenal. The music is phenomenal. I can say that. The worship is fairly good. It's hard to get too deep into worship when you're sitting up on the side of the stands, and, you know, you don't want to get wild and fall over, you know, kill some children.
Well, they were talking about, they had the You don't want to get wild, fall over and kill some children. Okay. Yeah, that's everybody's goal, I would think, especially when you're as robust as Pastor and I are. But
yeah, I'm trying to be less robust.
Well, I am too. And
robust.
they were talking about turning Lucas Oil Stadium into Anointed Oil Stadium.
Well, let me tell you, man, it was something. I loved the messages, and one of my very favorite preachers in the whole world that preaches today. You know, I've got my top preachers from years gone by that are not living any longer, but one of my very favorite preachers today is actually in Cincinnati.
Yep.
And that's Joel Urshan. He's a phenomenal man of God. I was actually at his first revival.
Yeah.
And so over at ALC. But he did a phenomenal job. Taylor Fish. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Taylor Fish blew that roof off, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I was absolutely just stunned because the truth is I'd never heard him preach before.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, this guy's phenomenal. You know, it was the presentation. It was the weight of the anointing that he come with. It was everything. You know, I guess maybe what was so surprising about it is I expect that from Joel Urshan.
Mm-hmm.
I expect that from Aaron Bounds, but I hadn't heard Taylor Fish. So when I did, I was just like really blown away.
Yeah.
So loved it, enjoyed my time with my son. My youngest son went and he's really digging in. And so, you know, enjoyed that, my wife, and just being with the young people. But we stayed at the Drury Inn, and that place is a phenomenal place. It's in my opinion, just barely below. Now, some people argue with me about this, but just below Embassy Suites. I have a special place in my heart.
I do too.
Embassy Suites.
I do too. I like, especially if you go to an Embassy Suites that have a nice, they make those free cooked order breakfasts.
Oh yeah. So we go to the one in Columbus every now and then for there's a conference at Brother Stark's church. I think it's called Awakening, something like that. But it's a great conference. If you've not been and you're in our area, really, man, it's one of the better conferences I've been to. And we stay at the Embassy Suites. It's really close to the church. And what we love about that is you got your own bedroom. So you take your kids and you got your bedroom, close it. They're going to be talking. They're going to be up late. Mine go to sleep.
Yeah. That's right.
And their breakfast is phenomenal. And then they have that little, it's a little more than a snack, but it's not exactly dinner, but they have that little snack at about 5:00 and it really will hold you over. And since we're going to church, it's great because it holds us over until church.
Well, church. And those hotels, I'll say this, as much as I travel, and I was looking at my Hilton profile a few days ago. I think I've already stayed out like 100 nights this year.
Wow.
Just for work, I travel quite a bit. And, again, where you stay matters. It's funny. One time we went to Durham, North Carolina, when my son was in high school. One of his Christmas presents was the basketball camp at Duke, Coach K's basketball camp. He's a big Duke basketball fan. And we were staying at a Hampton Inn and Suites not far from there. And he said, Dad, how come they give you snacks and stuff like that? You're a Diamond member. And I said, well, why don't you ask the general manager? And he asked the general manager, and he said, because your dad's loyal to the brand. And he said, we want to make sure that those guests that stay with Hilton Properties are well taken care of.
Loyalty is a fantastic.
Yeah, because now everybody's booking on hotels.com and Priceline and Trivago. And now you've got the Airbnb, like Vrbo and Airbnbs that are competitors to those folks. But so you guys had a good experience at Drury, huh?
We did. We had it was pleasant. We never had I say this, whenever I go to a hotel and it's clean, and I typically, I give it a thumbs up if it's clean. But I'll tell you the one thing, and we'll get off hotels, but this is the one thing I am always comparing the bathroom everywhere I go to Home 2.
Yes.
Because Home 2's bathrooms are just above everybody else's. They've got these huge showers,
Yep.
walk-in showers that are gigantic compared to everyone else's. And I'm like, why isn't the rest of these hotels getting with the program?
So I'm going to tell you a little secret. So first of all, it doesn't matter how much you travel. Join a hotel loyalty program, because they'll recognize you, and obviously if you can build up your stays and if you travel a little more, you have a little more recognition. But you're right, with Hilton, I don't stay at Home 2 Suites very often when I'm traveling because their points per dollar are not as robust. But when you go to cash in your points, it's the best value you can get.
Yeah, they're great.
Because you got the Home 2 Suites has got, most of them have the little couch.
Yeah.
And they've got a desk area and a little half table that you can pull out and eat out of. You got a full kitchen and a microwave, and some of them have little stoves. Coffee pot, yep. And then you pull a curtain and you've got this full bed area.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my goodness, you have so much room to roam.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll repeat again, the bathrooms, especially the shower. Like I said, that shower.
Okay. Well, I like when I stay out somewhere for work, I like to have a little room to roam.
Yeah.
And for me, in my travels, I have had people try to get into my room when I've been in my room. I was in Charleston, South Carolina one night. Believe it or not, I was staying at a Homewood Suites down there. Two things happened to me down there. This housekeeper at night tried to get into my room, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I heard him come in, and I sprinted for the door. Of course, I had the thing on the door, so the door opened and it hit that piece on the top of the door. I sprinted for the door, and I lowered my shoulder and shut the door real quick. And I called down to the front desk and I said, somebody tried to get in my room. They said, oh, the housekeeper thought your room was empty. And I said, I checked in here 4 hours ago. I don't think that's the case. I said, tomorrow morning, I want to talk to your general manager. And I got that room for free for that night. And then I had a guy that was trying to bum money from me. And he told me, he said, will you help me get something to eat? And I said, yeah. I said, if you'll meet me down at this little convenience store, literally down the street. I get down there and he goes, well, I really need some money. And I looked at him and I said, you told me that you were hungry. You wanted something to eat. I'm buying you something to eat. I said, that's what you asked me for. I'm going to do that. That one hotel, I had two unusual experiences, but you got to be careful when you travel anymore, because places like that are magnets for people. They know people's traveling and things like that. You just be careful. Okay. Just be careful, but the bathrooms. Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of,
so what else about the, do you want to stay on bathrooms, or do you want to, do you want to,
let's move.
Do you want to move? Do you want to move?
I've said it twice. I just like to say, I love the shower. That's it.
Oh, well,
3 times.
Yes. The shower. So Home 2 Suites, if you're listening, contact us at Bible Apostolic Church. We'd love to have you as a sponsor of the Bible Apostolic Church podcast. We will push your brand. We will push your brand. But you were talking about the services and things like that out there. First of all, I'm really glad that you went with the kids. I think it's cool for the kids to see pastor taking that kind of interest where you'll say, hey, I'll take 2 or 3 days away from day-to-day business of the church, and I'll go with you guys to this thing. I think that's really cool. What was your biggest takeaway from those 3 days?
Don't wear dress shoes when you park that far away. When you park that far
well,
away.
Yeah, you and I had this conversation. Yeah, you and I had this conversation.
No, well, that was a takeaway, but probably my biggest takeaway from that is just the fact that we got hungry people. You know, we had 36,000 people.
Yep.
And I think it grew as we got closer to Friday. Revival is here. It's coming. It's happening. You know.
Yep.
And Taylor, that's one of the things. Like I said, Taylor Fish really impressed me. And his sermon absolutely inspired me. And that was one of the big takeaways that I had. Is just, you know, we've got to spread the gospel. We've got to share the good news. We've got to teach Bible. You know, we've got to do the work. You know, and just phenomenal. You know, Taylor Fish. I didn't realize this is who he was, but when the Asbury revival was going, Taylor Fish had went there and preached. And ironically, I was at the Asbury College. I had drove down there. I was interested myself. I wanted to see what was going on, and I was going to visit Bishop Gillum. And so he lives very close. Actually, I think he graduated from Asbury.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, lives very close to it. So I went down to check it out, and I'm going to tell you the lines were incredible. But, you know, that was just something I was very interested in.
Well, and here's the thing that I'll say, and I've been to National Youth Conference congresses like that, things like that. I think it'd be cool to do it in a football stadium. The last one I attended was 2015, so 10 years ago, in Oklahoma City, and that was in the Paycom Center that the Oklahoma City Thunder play in. That holds 23,000.
Wow.
And it was rocking then. And I think it'd be very cool because Lucas Oil has hosted Super Bowls, things like that. And, of course, people are excited about 2029 because they're going to the Alamo Dome. That's hosted Final Fours and things like that. And so that's a big deal. I have always said this. It's very easy to go and worship when everybody around you is worshiping. But real change, if God does a real change, bring it home with you.
Right. Yeah.
Bring it home with you. Because I've seen so many kids cry out to God and pour themselves out when everybody else is doing it. But then you get home, it's like, well, I don't want people to see me.
Yeah.
I don't want people. And it's like, wait a minute. You were laying on the floor in front of 45,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
But where's that same level? If you're going to worship there with all your might, worship here with all your might.
Right. Yeah.
Worship. It should be consistent. Doesn't matter where you are. But I think that's awesome. The preaching. I remember Jerry Jones preaching at a youth congress I went to in 1989
He preached
in Memphis.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
He pulled a ladder out, you know. Ironically, I wasn't there Thursday night. The only service I missed was Thursday night. My wife went, my son went, but I've got these nice dress shoes, but I had no idea because I'd never walked any kind of real distance.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, imagine you're going to a football stadium like that. You're parking fairly far away.
Yep.
And so by the time I walked there, Wednesday night, Thursday day, my knee was hurting me so bad. I said, you know, it wasn't just my knee, it was my knees.
Yep.
It was on the sides of the front of my shin. My muscles were sore.
Yeah.
My back on one side. I said, man, what in the world? And I realized it's my shoes. And so Friday morning, I put my dress clothes on and my white tennis shoes. I said, I don't even care. Ain't hardly none of these people going to know who I am. They'll never see me again. And I'll probably run into a few people from back home, but I don't care. I'm going to go, but I got to,
well, brother, I've seen so many people that start to wear tennis shoes with suits now.
Well, you know, you had you had turned me on to Cole Haans, and Cole Haans is one of the best. I mean, those shoes feel like tennis shoes, and yet you can get them that look like dress shoes. So, probably my most favorite pair of shoes I ever had was those Cole Haans.
Yep. By the way, Cole Haan, if you'd like to advertise with the
yes.
BAC podcast, we 2 loyal customers right here. Well, that's a great transition from where we want to go to interest. And I was reading something, and I
speak of shoes, and that takes you right to interest.
Well, no, you and I were talking about, okay, what do we want to talk about? And we got to thinking about interests and things like that, because, you know, the big topic in the news today has been the president wants the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, he wants him to cut interest rates, because the president's thinking is, okay, if we cut interest rates on houses, more people are going to be able to afford to buy a house.
Yeah.
If we cut interest rates, people are going to spend money, because it doesn't cost them as much to buy new cars. It doesn't cost them as much to buy things that they finance. And so, but I think the reason that Powell wants to keep the interest rates up is he's protecting the investors, because the investments are
well, here's the whole thing is, when interest rates are low, poor and middle class people do much better.
Yes.
And when interest rates are high, it's the wealthy that benefit, because they're the ones that have most of them, you know, they're the ones that
well, think about who controls the Fed. It's the top banks in United.
That's right. And, you know, and the truth is, you know, I'm not an expert on this, but I do at least understand a little bit about economics. And, but the truth of it is that Trump and they're both right.
Yeah.
Because if they lower the interest rates, I don't know if you've looked at house prices.
Oh, especially in our area. Yeah, my son has been trying to buy a house.
Went nuts. I'm talking about a house that you could have bought 12 years ago for about $160,000, $170,000, maybe $180,000.
And that was a nice home with a lot of square footage.
Yeah. That same home, 300 plus today.
It's a seller's market.
Years. Yeah, and so I think it's right now. I think things have cooled off just enough. If I think I remember seeing something very recently about basically there's the market's cooling off. You've got about 25%. I think they might have been saying 25% more. I'm not sure, but houses that have not sold, 25% more on the market, 25% less loans being, you know, so it's slowing. Well, here's the truth is that it's probably, we all feel better when they're lower, because money's cheap.
Yeah.
And when money's cheap, it's like it's flowing. People are, you know, hiring handymen to come do stuff.
Yeah.
People are getting things done. And the reality is it's a good chance that our economy will not, we definitely are not indefinite. You know, there's going to come a time where it's going to come crashing down. And I think a lot of people are of that mindset that they want to just ride the beast until it falls, because the American economy is so propped up. However, with Trump, we probably are doing better than we've done in a long time. Things are looking better. Debt has went up. However, the more money that you create, the more money that flows around, you know, with tax cuts he's done, it ends up offsetting it, because you're making more money. So,
well, you're exactly right. You know, money, we have a fundamental problem in our country. And here's where interests, as in, this is what I'm interested in, right? This is where this comes into play. We have a fundamental problem in our country, Pastor, and it's crept into the church too, where people go, well, I'd like to have a bigger house. I'd like to have a new car. I'd like to get a new TV from Walmart. You know, they got a 75-inch TV at Walmart. I'd like to have. And what happens is our interests, the things that catch our eye, a lot of times will cause us to make decisions with our finances that go away for, and this is not a financial podcast, okay?
Could be. I'm interested.
Yeah, I am too. But here's the thing that I will say. The Bible tells us that the borrower is servant to the lender.
Yep.
The Bible tells us that was one of the commandments in Deuteronomy was don't be a surety. Don't be a basically a cosigner or a surety for somebody else, because even in the Old Testament, they wanted them to understand that indebtedness was servitude, and Jesus said you can't serve two masters. You got to love one and hate the other.
In the Bible, we're literally talking about servitude, because if you couldn't pay your debt, you would have to go into servitude, or a type of, we would call it slavery. It's not exactly what we would think of in America that we had, but it was a type of slavery you'd go into until you paid your debt.
Well, remember the parable. Remember the parable that Jesus talked about was the man that couldn't pay his debt, and the man that he owed money to had mercy on him. Yep. And then basically the guy that was the debtor that just got shown mercy went and did a shakedown on a guy that owed him money.
Yeah,
and this guy found out, and he goes, wait a minute, I just gave you mercy, and here you are going. And the Lord had a spiritual connotation, but he used a very real world practical thing.
Sure.
But Pastor, we get so ad inundated, right? Hey, I was looking on Facebook last night. Full confession, okay? I want for my office, I want a full-size Cincinnati Bengals helmet to put in my office. I just think that'd be really cool. Like a full-size one, like they wear. I want one of those, and I want a Marshall helmet. Okay, those are my.
I think the Marshall helmet's pretty doable.
Well, but kind of
Cincinnati, if it's legit, might be.
So I was looking on this auction site, and I saw a signed full-size helmet by a guy named Anthony Munoz. Anthony Munoz is considered to be the greatest left tackle in pro football history. And I was like, oh man, the starting bid was really cheap. And I thought, man, I'd look good in my office. I started getting 5 and 6 ads for other auction sites that did sports memorabilia.
Yeah, big business.
And it's like, oh my goodness, I got to quit. If Facebook sends me an ad, I got to go off of Facebook and go to that site. And because then Facebook will send me 10 different ads for all this other stuff. We are such a programmed society that it really is like Big Brother's watching you, because they want to know what you like, what you're interested in, so that they can continue to feed you these ads that will spur you to say, oh man, I got to have that. Oh my goodness, I got to have that. Why do you feel like you've taught me a lot of stuff in the last couple of years about this? What do you see out there about the interests of people? What do you see that's caused this explosion in all the different interests that people have about themselves right now?
Well, I would say one of the big ones is, well, first of all, let's go to the foundation. The foundation is expendable income. Whether you think the economy is good or not, we're wealthy. And so everybody, even poor people, have expendable income. But it's social media. We're comparing ourselves to everyone else, and we feel like we've got to have what the neighbor has. It's human nature to do that. And the problem is that people don't understand that we get into we'll get into this mindset where we spend money we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing it because we think if I can have this thing, I'm going to be happy. Let me tell you something. People don't buy shoes. They don't buy shirts. They don't buy cars. They don't buy houses. They buy the enjoyment and the pleasure that they think owning that will bring them. And so that's the motivator. People think that their life will be more fulfilled if they have this thing, but it never is true. They always want something else. Jesus said, with food and raiment, let us be content.
Mm-hmm.
If we will learn to be content with what we have. As a matter of fact, I just recently bought at Half Price Books the Dave Ramsey they got Financial Peace course.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought that because your wife and I were talking about it. She was talking about how she would love to teach that. And I thought, man, I would love her to teach it.
Yeah, she's good at it.
Offer classes in the church, maybe periodically, so people could sign up for that. Because it's not God's will for us to be indebted. It's very plain. But we get indebted because we buy things we don't need. We don't need bigger houses. We don't need finer cars. If you have a car that's dependable, good. You know, my dad taught me, my dad would get a car and he would drive it in the ground. I mean, people probably thought we were so poor because my dad would get a car and he would drive it till there's nothing left. And we done pretty good. My dad was a railroader. So growing up, we were middle class, but man, my dad, we had certain things. This is something else about interest. This is what I've noticed. I've watched so many people criticize other people for being wasteful with their money.
Mm-hmm.
But the same people I've noticed waste money.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I've learned. Everybody, usually, it's very rare that people don't. Very rarely do people not spend their money and truly save it and truly invest it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, everybody has something they spend on.
Right.
Somebody spends on vacations and they'll save, and other people will spend on food, and it's constant. My wife and I went through a whole spell in our life, and my wife loves to go out to eat. And so I love to please my wife. I love to make her happy.
You just said something very interesting. So there's 2 or 3 things I want to piggyback off of what you said. Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah. Mm-hmm. Well, what was the main concept of the days of Noah? Eat, drink, and be merry. Yep. And we've got that same philosophy today. The second thing that you said that I love, and I wanted to just jump in on it, is we have an inverse, because of our interests and because of the way we have wired ourselves. We have an inverse thought process when it comes to that, Pastor, because we say, let's borrow money on things that are depreciating assets.
Yeah.
Wealthy people do not borrow money on depreciating assets. Wealthy people actually borrow money on investment properties and things like that. Mm. Now, if you follow Dave Ramsey's system, he doesn't borrow money for anything.
Well, there's a time and a place.
Right.
Matter of fact, the Bible's not against you taking out loans, just period. It's very specific. And if you look what it's talking about, so let's say you're going to buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you put some money down and you get a home. Mm-hmm. Let's say you're a first-time home buyer, you might get 5% down. You can get get in a home pretty cheap. First-time home buyer. Mm-hmm. And so they put it down and they're paying to live in the house. The house is the collateral.
Yep, that's right.
The Bible is against you taking things you already own free and clear that you have and throwing those things up for collateral. Mm-hmm. Why would you do such a thing? But when you actually you got to remember their whole system is influenced by the scripture. Mm-hmm. When they formed this country and the laws that they made, a lot of it was, and so that follows. That's why we have bankruptcy laws. People get in over their head. There is no debtor's prison. The only time you can get into debtor's prison in this country is if you owe student loans. I'm just kidding.
Well, there is.
You can't get out of those.
Well, there is a debtor's prison to some degree. If you knowingly borrow money with the intention of not paying it back,
Well, that's a crime.
They will call it's fraudulent. But I thought about something you said that interests me. Okay, no pun intended. But it's the thought that why in the world are we so quick to use a credit card to buy stuff that credit card interest rates now are anywhere from 18 to 25%.
Everybody's going to pay it off before the next bill.
So they say.
Listen,
they say. But we spit the bit,
yeah,
as the old saying goes, on buying a home that actually appreciates in value at a much lower interest rate.
Cars will depreciate. Yes. Let me tell you. Let me give you some. I know this is not what this is about, but let me give you some great advice.
This is good. This is good.
Great advice on buying a car. If you buy a car that's 4 years old, you get the biggest bang for your buck, because at 4 years old, it has the most amount of life left for the amount that the car usually will book for, and you're buying for. And if you do that with a car that actually is known to last a long time, for instance, a Toyota, a Honda Pilots are phenomenal. Any Toyota is phenomenal, but Subarus are phenomenal. Yep. And let me tell you something, a little bit expensive, but Mercedes, one of the reasons that Mercedes lasts so long is
incredibly well built.
They are. But Toyota is manufactured with the idea that you're not going to do the maintenance like you're supposed to, and they manufacture them just to last. Mercedes manufactures theirs with the idea that they're going to offer this crazy 300-point inspection system every time you get your oil changed. That's going to cost you $300. And so the reason that they last so long is every time you get your oil changed, they're going over your car with a fine-tooth comb, finding out if anything's wrong with it.
Well, you buy a Mercedes, the thought process is from the Mercedes company that you're going to baby that car.
Oh, yeah, especially if it's an S-Class.
Yes, for what you spend on this automobile, you're going to baby it. But here's the thing that I will say. You're so right on the money.
By the way, you know who buys the most Mercedes in America?
Tell me.
It is lower middle class.
Yep. It's a status symbol.
It's what it is. That's the problem. It's what we were talking about a while ago. People are constantly trying to overextend themselves.
Yeah.
To try to have, because we don't want the Mercedes. We want the admiration from other people. We think
that's why the resale values are incredible.
Yeah, they really, truly are.
Even for a car that has 250,000 miles on it. Yeah. You're right. People will say, "Why I got Mercedes?"
Well, they're like I said, you have record of all the maintenance, but that the problem is in our society, we will let our interest rule us, because what it is, the Bible talks about a day. Here I'm more than a little bit fat, but the Bible talks about a day where their bellies would be their gods, and it's not talking about because they were fat. It's talking because if it was, but they're talking specifically about pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure it rules our nation.
Mm-hmm.
I was preaching the other day, and I mentioned vacations. I think vacations are great. I think they're needed. We got people in this church that work so much. You're one of those people. You're out of town all the time, Brother Concrete, just constantly. Yeah. I don't know how he actually makes it. Brother Hager, he works very hard in what he does. Vacations are needed for some people, and me, I'm different. I'd rather spend my vacation at home without anybody calling me, without me doing anything, without me having to be anywhere, just sitting at home doing things I want to do, just mowing my grass or whatever. But, a lot of people want to go places, and every time I do, brother, I'll spend like $5,000-$6,000 on a family vacation. I come back and I'm kicking myself thinking, man, I could have bought this or that, and it would have been with me forever, But
you're raising this is why I wanted to tackle this topic today, because it's a mindset.
Yeah.
People are going to spend money on things that they value.
And now, because of Facebook, because of Instagram.
Yeah.
We live in the most narcissistic society that may have.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question.
And everybody is so obsessed with themselves and what they look like. And listen, I have literally heard of people going to a restaurant, seeing somebody else's food, somebody else's drinks, taking a picture of that, and then posting it as though it was theirs, or there's just lifestyles that are not real.
Yeah.
And it's so narcissistic to try to, you realize today, I was thinking about this not too long ago, and I thought this is insane. People want to be approved of so much, and they're seeking approval so bad, and they're seeking validation, keyword validation, so bad that even if the validation comes from a lie or a half truth they told, it's still something they crave. And so even though they know if the people fully knew the truth, that validation wouldn't be there, it doesn't matter. They want it so bad, they'll lie to get it. And it's fueled this insanity. The truth is, back when I was a kid, our church, we used to preach against watching TV. We were pretty strict about that. My grandfather, and my mother's dad, they preached against watching TV as well. And they had good reasonings at that time. Made sense, but now TV's nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
TV is, I would much rather people in the church had TVs and watch TV than they get on Facebook, because Facebook, not only does it tend to either create stalkers, Facebook stalkers, or narcissists, people that just want attention and want validation so bad. But it also creates this thing where people go competing with each other for lives that aren't true and aren't real. And then on top of all of that, the time wasted, and then the videos. And I want to tell you, I don't get on Facebook except to go to Marketplace or to go check our church's status.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I do. If I do, I got an actual purpose. I'm there and I'm on.
Yeah.
And I started doing that years ago, just peace of mind. I probably started about 5 years ago, just kind of 4 years ago, staying off of it. For a short time, I tried to preach on it and still wouldn't but I realized that, I don't like Facebook because of the way it creates this narcissistic behavior. Because when you post a video, when you post something, you will keep checking.
Well, everybody,
to see how many likes you got.
Well, everybody wants to. Here's what I see and sense. Okay, what I see and sense, Pastor, is you see people like the guy on YouTube, Mr. Beast. He created this channel, and this was a kid from North Carolina. And people go, well, if I became a content creator, I wouldn't have to work and I would make all this money.
Because they're becoming, some of them, very few small amount, are becoming extremely rich.
But here's the thing. The thing that makes you can be the thing that breaks you. And you think about a guy like, and his name is Jimmy McClinton or something like that, is Mr. Beast. Somebody offered him $1 billion for his channel and he turned it down. And I thought, I would have taken it, because here's the thing. What if YouTube decided to, what if somebody decided to try to ruin your
deplatform him?
Yeah. Deplatform him, things like that. I would have taken it and I would have said, hey, you know what? $1 billion in my bank account. I'd go hide somewhere. I would invest it, things like that. But it's the thought of, I won't ever have to work again, or I won't ever have to do this again. And that disturbs me, because I think to myself, okay, so let's say you're 25 years old. My son will be 25 next month. You're 25 years old. You've got all this money in the bank, but what are you going to do? What's your purpose?
Yeah.
Because at some point, human beings were designed to have a purpose. And you're right, Pastor. The why is not clear. And I've said this so many times. If your why is unclear, your what doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because, if I don't know the why behind, and I look at social media and I think a lot of times, why are you posting this?
Why is the foundational question.
But nobody will answer that question.
Leads to a lot of answers.
Very few people will not answer that question. And it's an interest of the heart.
Yeah.
Jesus said, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. You know why? Because he understood. Well, Jesus understands everything. He created everything. But he understood in that teaching, you know what? If you're valuing the stuff you have, what interests you over the Word of God, it's got your heart. And I said this earlier, Jesus was the one that said, no man can serve two masters. You're going to love the one and you're going to hate the other, because you're going to be creating content. You're going to go, oh man, I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
Don't have time to read my Bible tonight. Don't have time to talk to the Lord because I've been busy. And let me say this one other thing too, if you don't mind. I feel like I've been talking a lot today. Forgive me. I even see this content creation culture in the church to where it's like, okay, we want to put these professional videos out, things like that. Promote your church. I'm not saying that. Brother Fish said something at NAYC that struck me to the heart. We'll spend 3 hours practicing music and 10 minutes in prayer.
Yeah.
Oh man, Pastor, that's a word for everybody.
Oh yeah.
We can't be so focused on creating this. Well, I want this viral. I want this video to go viral so Jesus can get the glory. We talked about that one day on a podcast here. You know what? The Lord was getting glory long before you created that piece of content, and he'll get glory long after.
I think the problem we face now is with prayer lives, God is competing for your attention.
Oh man. Say that again. Yeah.
He's competing for just a little bit of time, but we can't get off Facebook, can't get off YouTube, can't get off AI, can't get off. I mean, it is constant phone, text, whatever it is, but it's social media has just, I was saying something earlier, making a certain point. In reality, I think that Facebook, social media is the new TV that the old time preachers used to preach against. And I feel it is something I talk about a lot. And it's not that it's not that it is a sin in and of itself, but if we allow it to consume us, it will become a sin and our God.
Yeah.
Because we'll be obedient to it.
Well, that is so true, because here's the thing that I would say as well to that is, where's our heart? Where's our mind? Where's our spirit? Does God have control of it? Does God get glory from it? Is God, is he the center of it? But here's the thing too. Jesus talked about balance, and I've heard pastors talk about balance too. People could say, man, I spend 10, 12 hours a day in the Word. Okay. Are you eating dinner with your family? Can't be so earthly minded. You can't be so heavenly minded. You're no earthly good. It's about balance. The Lord wants us to have interest.
Yeah, but at this point, go ahead and do it, because you're going to be on your Facebook while you get the table anyway.
Yes. But here's the thing.
Pet peeve. I'm going to say pet peeve. I despise when I go out to eat with somebody and they stay on their phone the whole time, either on Facebook or texting, and they're completely when I go out to eat, I do not answer my phone unless it's somebody that just doesn't call me regularly. There's people in the church that call me so seldomly that if they call immediately, I think this is an emergency, and I answer. But most of the time, unless it's that, I just don't answer my phone.
See, you've revealed it. So anytime I call him, he's like, man, I'm busy right now, brother. Ignore it.
I don't ignore it, but if I'm eating with somebody else, I will not. I won't answer my phone.
Well, again, we have become the dopamine hits that people get from those things. But you said something.
You just summed the whole thing, the whole entire conversation up.
Yeah.
because the reason we accumulate money to buy things, everything comes back to that dopamine hit.
You know what you said that, and I thought about this when I would travel, and I used to travel all over the place. I would work in New York and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Louisiana. I used to think that every trip that I went on, I'd have to bring something back. I'm like, I got to buy something. And then I realized, I'm like, I got all this stuff. You know, I got sweatshirts I never wear. I got T-shirts I never wear. I got this, that, and the other I don't wear. I was in my closet this morning, and I was getting frustrated because of the amount of shirts, dress shirts and things like that I have. And I'm thinking to myself, man alive, why am I frustrated? God's blessed me. I've got more than I've ever had, but I've also given, and I'm not saying that to pat me on the back. I've given away a lot of stuff. My Uncle Kenny used to do that. My Uncle Kenny used to give, somebody would comment on a necktie and he'd give it to him.
You've blessed Devin, and Devin, he's dressed so nice now. And he's so happy and proud of that, and always tells people that you're the one that gave him.
Well,
really blessed him with a lot.
What I learned from Uncle Kenny was, my Uncle Kenny talked years ago about going through bankruptcy and losing everything and things like that. And then later in his life, God restored him and God blessed him and things like that. But I firmly believe it was those years that when he had it, he gave it away. Mm-hmm. God walked him through that to step him into something else when he lost his business. That was the Lord not punishing him, but saying, Kenny, I've got a different path for you. I want you to go preach. And God kept him and my Aunt Donna and blessed him. And then just the Lord blessed him abundantly. And I believe that, you know, we talk about having stuff. It's not a sin to have things. Mm-mm. But when stuff consumes you,
as long as you have the proper mindset, and it's exactly what she's getting ready to say. The stuff can't own you. You have to own it.
Well, it's called repos.
Yeah.
I call it repos. Relentless pursuit of stuff.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I still enjoy going and buying things. I still love going to a Joseph A. Bank and buying shirt, things like that. And I'll say this, I'm not bragging on myself here. I don't want that to come across like that. But you know what? When I would see something for you, a shirt in your size or something like that, I got joy from that. And I would call you and I'd say, hey, do you like this? Or I'm going to send you a picture of it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, I found this shirt. Yeah. I knew Pastor would like it and would need it. And I liked Joseph A. Bank shirts. And I thought, man, if I like him, he'll probably like him.
I'm going to tell you, until Brother Cunningham gave me some of his suits, which were custom made, and I cannot believe that we're just built so alike. That's all I can say. The Joseph A. Bank jacket you got me, that travel jacket, navy blue, it's actually, I don't know what they call it. There's a certain color blue they call that. My favorite jacket up to that point. It's still a jacket that I go to so quick. You could throw it in the back of your car. It don't wrinkle very easily. It's fairly light. You know, it's phenomenal. And I think you got that on like a clearance.
Yeah. And here's the thing that I will tell you. I have learned in my life, in my adult life, I have learned to buy brand name items secondhanded. It's like you were talking about with a vehicle with depreciation, because I can't justify walking into a store and paying $80, $90 for a shirt, a name brand shirt, when I can go and buy it on sale for a reduced price or buy it secondhanded.
All about that. My wife is the Goodwill queen.
Yes. And that's the thing is, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, you know, if I had $500 and I had to rebuild my wardrobe, and I could go on eBay and I could buy 5 shirts, 5 pairs of pants, buy a couple suits, you know, like Steve Harvey says, get 5 suits and just mix and match them. I think that's tremendous. But again, shoes, things like that. I don't want to spend that money because I feel like the Lord has given me. Tanya said this, my wife said this, and we'll wrap up to a close. The Lord blessed me with a new job here year and a half ago or so ago. The Lord blessed me with a new job. She looked at me one day. She said, I believe the Lord blessed us so we could bless somebody else. And it changed the way I thought about things because, Pastor, if I have an interest now, it is, and I do. I'm going to be fully transparent. There are times I think to myself, Lord, why do we got to bless somebody today? I would love it if God blessed us. I'd love somebody to give us $25,000 or something like that. That'd be awesome. I've heard of him doing that for people, or new truck or something like that. But my point is, it's about staying focused to where it's like, okay, God, the little things that you've given me, the little blessings of, man, I was able to go buy a new dress shirt and I didn't feel it. It wasn't a big strain. I can remember times in my life where it was like, man, if I spent $100 on a pair of shoes, I felt it. Boy, did I feel it. But now I'm to that point where God's blessed us. And that's the thing. I want to make sure my interest, the things I like, don't take my mind away from what God's called us to do.
It's amazing when our interests line up with the Word of God and the will of God. I've had an interest in the Word of God from the time I was young. And
I've had to learn to love it. I've had to learn to love the Word of God. And I hate to say it, I didn't always have that love for the Word of God, but now I have an interest in prayer. Now I have an interest in that and its growth. Man, we could go for 2 hours. I loved where this topic ended up. And thank you for being so willing and so open. And again, if you've got something you want us to talk about, hey, I'd like to see you brothers address this, that, drop it in the comments. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, share the BAC podcast. Every 2 weeks on Monday morning at 10 o'clock without fail, these come up and you subscribe to the podcast. You'll get the content. Don't forget too, we've got some lessons on the BAC podcast YouTube page. We've got some lessons on the Holy Ghost, so don't forget those. And I want you to have the last word today, Pastor.
Well, interest. I think if we could all just get interested in souls, I think that the church will do much better. If and I'll tell you how you do that. You get interested in people.
Yeah.
When you get interested in people and interested in their story, you'll find out that God will open up doors when you begin to talk to people. Listen to them talk. Don't just go up to somebody with an agenda for them to listen to you. Go up and listen to people. Go up and when you start to listen to people, start a conversation and really, really listen to their story. They're taken by surprise because everybody wants to talk. Very few people want to listen. But when you'll just listen, you'll find some little place that gives you an entry point to introduce the gospel or invite them to church. So if we're going to end on interest, I want to say that. Take an interest in people.
That's right. That's right. Can't be interested in souls for growth. Just be interested in people for people. Pastor, this has been great. Thank you again for another great conversation. For Pastor Aaron Fairburn, Brian Sexton saying, be blessed in Jesus' name.